Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Start with roll call.
Brian Crawford,
Present.
Leonard Knapp,
Here.
Robert Meir.
Here.
Howard Puri.
Here.
Julius Simeon,
Here.
Jared Ricky,
Here.
Lenore Feeney,
Here.
and Jason Hanneman.
Here.
Before we take a moment of silence, I'd like to take a moment to recognize as Commissioner Robert Meir. This will be his last meeting with us. He is retiring, so cannot serve as the elected official once he is retired. I want to thank him for his tremendous service, dedication to making both this commission and state police better places to be, and for all he's done during his time. With that, we'll observe a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did we receive any requests to address the commission?
Someone might be, we haven't received it yet. I'm not sure if someone's doing so right now.
I think they were standing there. I don't see it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to subject 6 on the agenda. And the first item is consideration of the meeting minutes from February 10, 2022.
I would make a motion that we accept those minutes.
Commissioner Knapp moved,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Rickey. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item is consideration of a request from the Office of State Police for the 2-year reauthorization of 10 part-time WAE positions. And there's a representative here. Morning, Colonel, to discuss that matter.
Morning, Chairman, committee members, Colonel Lamar Davis, Superintendent of State Police. Yes, sir, we have 10 positions in which we are requesting renewals for. As noted previously, we have experienced some issues with regards to personnel retiring as well as resignations. That's put us at a severe deficit. And as such, that impacts our ability to handle our mission and perform our mission. So we are requesting these be renewed. Now, with those vacancies, again, as mentioned, last count, we had 226 trooper vacancies. And that's why we're requesting that these WAE LSP personnel remain on staff. We are working to mitigate that. We currently have an academy in tow right now with 51 cadets. I have also authorized a commission academy to start around the June timeframe, and then again another non-commissioned academy the first part of next year. So we are working to mitigate this. However, due to the severe shortage of personnel, I am requesting your consideration of this.
You have a motion? Moved, any second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just had, it was most helpful to circle where all those positions were. I couldn't identify them in the charts that were attached to see if there was.
Yes, sir. Some of those are a bit hard to read, but the first position is in our criminal intelligence unit as an investigator. If you look at the organizational chart there, you will see that we have in that particular section, total of 70 personnel with 9 vacancies. On the CIU side, which is to the left side of that particular chart, we have 33 criminal intelligence unit authorized, but again, 5 vacancies throughout the entire unit. So we are seeking to fill those vacancies, but at the same time, those positions, this one is in the Monroe office that we're seeking to fill. And I can go down the list, or I can provide you a better org chart later on.
I think you can just provide it so that we can see if there's any kind of way that we can assist to do this so that we can get these positions filled.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Crawford.
Colonel, are all the 10 positions that you're bringing before the commission, they're currently filled? So you don't have any vacancies there, so it's just a continuation of the personnel that are currently in there serving?
Yes, sir. Although we do have vacancies, these are people that are currently sitting in those positions.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Item on the agenda is consideration of a motion to reject the changes previously tabled for the proposed changes to State Police Commission Rule 14.3 and the new rules in chapters 14 and 15 as detailed in General Circular number 234 to allow issuance of a new general circular that would include improved and additional changes to those chapters and possibly other changes as well.
So move, Mr. Chair.
So we have a motion, any second?
I would second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The vote on item 3 moots the need to address item 4 on the agenda. I just want to make sure that everyone sitting in this room understands and knows this commission is extremely committed to the proposition of bringing about some changes to the rules that will improve both this commission and improve state police. And certainly we'll work in conjunction with the administration in doing so. But the rejection of the previously tabled rules is not an indication that we're not moving forward with those. It's simply an indication we want to submit a clean set in a new circular so that we can move forward after some very productive and detailed discussions that we're having with all the parties involved.
Is it our intention to have the new set for next meeting in May?
It would be my hope that we do have it in time to put a circular out in time to let us do that. If not, it will certainly be on the agenda for June, if not in May.
Okay.
We are in the process of scheduling we've already met multiple times. We're in the process of scheduling some additional meetings so that we can have the best set possible of the changes. So hope by May, but certainly by June. It brings us to item 5 on the agenda, or more arguments on the pre-hearing motion filed in the matter, excuse me, filed in the matter of Albert Paxton, Department of Public Safety and Corrections, Office of State Police, docket number 21-258 RV. It's Mr. G. Menon Campbell Jr. representing Mr. Paxton, and Laura Ellender representing the Office of State Police.
Morning, Commissioners. Laura Ellender here on behalf of the Department of Public Safety, Office of State Police.
Good morning, Minnie Campbell on behalf of retired Sergeant Albert Paxton, who is outside, I think.
Is he present?
He is. Oh, he's behind me, Your Honor. Sorry.
While we're waiting for, you said Sergeant Paxton?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sergeant
Sorry.
Paxton, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge, we understand that one of the attorneys in the legal department for the state police had a very tragic loss of her son last night. And as a commission, we want to express our condolences in regards to that. And I take a personal privilege and offer my prayers as well.
As the commission is aware, an appeal was filed in this matter on November 12th of 2021. The department filed motions to strike and or eliminate to limit the record and reject what was in paragraphs 21 through 47, excuse me, of the amended appeal. Solely because the violation, the allegations in the appeal consists around a rule violation of 12.13 with regard to a notice that Sergeant Paxton received on August 12th of 2021 that he was going to be under investigation for matters of dissemination of information. The appeal alleges a rule violation, which is not, the matters concerning the death of Mr. Ronald Green are not relevant before this commission. And we have asked to move to strike those, any mention of that or any testimony surrounding that investigation because it was not relevant for the commission. And the alternative is if this commission does find that it is relevant, we would ask that this matter be stayed pending any federal investigation that is ongoing into the death of Mr. Ronald Green, as well as any state criminal litigation that is pending.
Yes, Min and Campbell, once again, on behalf of retired Sergeant Albert Paxton. In the appeal, the reason, and we cited some procedural violations, but there's also the defense that he's not guilty of the allegations. That was paragraph 20, I believe, of the amended appeal. And those allegations against Mr. Sergeant Paxton came from the Ronald Green investigation, the use of force investigation, which he was in different IA investigations for other people. And it was, for lack of a better term, the weaponization of the IA process that allowed them to try and prohibit him from continuing his investigation. And that goes to our defense to the dissemination of information. Personally, I believe they were after him because they had some suspected maybe the leak came from Sergeant Paxton, which wasn't true. But during that blanket investigation that it used the term witch hunt, it's overused, but they were just on a fishing expedition and they wrote him up for various things, everything from dissemination of public records, which one of them was actually a public record, to emails to his wife about scheduling future childcare. So I do think that his investigation into the Ronald Green started this and is pertinent and how he was treated along the way to show how this plethora of allegations against him is really just was their attempt to intimidate him from continuing his investigation or to speaking out against it. So I would ask that they not be struck from the record.
What position, if any, do you take on the oral request by the Office of State Police to stay this matter pending the current investigations?
I would object, Your Honor, sir, because this has been going on a long time. And I'm sorry, I'm a criminal attorney that Your Honor comes out naturally.
I'm guilty of the same thing.
So
He's flattered.
only because my client is ready to get this over with. There's a May date to have the hearing. We're ready to have the hearing, present our case and move on. He's retired and this is the IA process especially has created issues in his life. He left voluntarily from a job he loved and he's just ready to close that door, get it behind him. So for those reasons, I would object to it being stayed.
Any other basis for and I'm not diminishing the significance of that. I just want to know if there's any other basis for that.
I don't think there's any evidentiary reasons or anything like that for a stay. I mean, to object to the stay, just that it would be, trying for my client, Your Honor. But I'm sorry.
Any other questions?
Chairman, if I may address the commission again and reply.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate that we are just asking to strike the record from paragraphs 21 through 47, not paragraph 20, which Mr. Campbell referenced. with regard to the defective notice that was addressed in violation of Rule 12.13 for failure to state a date and the facts surrounding in the notice letter, which was the August 12th letter. Additionally, if we were to move forward on May 12th, if this commission decides not to strike those paragraphs from his pleading or allow the testimony surrounding Mr. Ronald Green's death, then that would prejudice any other cases that are currently pending federally or in the state.
Relative to the first part of your request, I know there's reference to paragraph 20, but I'm also looking at the introductory paragraph to the amended appeal. And as I read that paragraph, it says that the appeal was brought to object to the illegal and insufficient notice of the administrative investigation and the decision of the appointing authority to sustain the policy and procedural violations. Would not, do you have a response to the question of would not the circumstances surrounding the investigation, the imposition of the penalty, would that not be relevant to whether or not the decision was the appropriate decision for this commission to look at?
Your Honor, I just want to reiterate that I believe that it's solely based on the rule violation alleged in the appeal.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Crawford.
Colonel and counsel, is there anything in that paragraph 20 through 48 that hasn't been made public in other documents?
Well, I can't speak to that at this time. I do believe there are matters that are discussed here that have not been addressed publicly in these paragraphs, yes, with specificity.
Does that play into your rationale of not wanting them released to the public, or is that reason for striking or asking for the strike?
Yes, that's reason for asking for the strike, is that there are matters that currently have not made it to the public that we are asking either for the stay for it to be continued until after this investigation, so we don't hinder or prejudice that investigation in any way.
You realize that changes the dynamic and why you applied to have it striked, because that what you just articulated was not mentioned in your brief.
Okay.
As to why you wanted to have it struck. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? Okay, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session to discuss allegations of misconduct.
So moved. Second.
Can take a roll call vote, please?
Ryan Crawford,
Yes.
Leonard Knapp,
Yes.
Robert Muir,
Yes.
Howard Puri, Jared Ricky,
Yes.
and Eula Simeon.
Yes. We ask that everyone remove themselves from the room and go out into the atrium area. Do not congregate outside of our room. Go ahead and entertain a motion to come back into public session.
Move. Second.
Moved and second. Do a roll call vote, please.
Ryan Crawford,
Present.
Leonard Knapp,
Yes.
Robert Meir, Howard Pari, Jared Ricky,
Yes.
and Eunice Simeon.
Yes. At that time, we go back into public session and we'll have a discussion if there's a motion on the floor.
Mr. Chairman, regarding the oral arguments on pre-hearing motions filed in the matter of Albert Paxton, docket number 21-258-RV. I make a motion to defer the motion to strike at this time and move forward with the rule violations 12.13 at our next May hearing with no other claims in the appeal to be heard at that time, but to be set for a later date.
We have a second. I'll second. Been moved and second. Any discussion by any commissioner? Well, just to make the record clear, obviously deferring the motion to strike doesn't do anything relative to the document that is already a public record that anyone has access to. There are certain claims made in that document. Those are public record claims. And so anyone that wants to have access to it has it. We will not rule on the motion to strike at this time. We'll simply move, if the motion is sustained, we'll simply have a hearing on the allegations that the notice was insufficient, which was the rules violation, as I understand, that was claimed. Is that correct?
Correct. Sure.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. So the matter is still set for hearing in May, but limited to the issue of the alleged rule violation. Other issues, if necessary, at a later date. We haven't ruled on whether we'll proceed with the other issues until a later date.
Mr. Chairman.
We'll go ahead and take a 10-minute break. So we'll call it a quarter to 10. So we'll come back at 5 minutes to 10. Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order. I do understand that we received two requests to speak on item number 6 on the agenda. However, the time to speak on items that are on the agenda has already passed. We have that at the beginning of the meeting, and those requests have to come in before the meeting is called to order. Therefore, we're going to proceed with the hearing at this time without public comment from the two requested parties.
So we're going to call the hearing of Carl Cavalier versus LSP. And this is docket number 21-257S. I'd like to begin. I'm going to call all of the names of the witnesses that have been subpoenaed. And when I call your name, if you would stand and remain standing so that we can swear all the witnesses in at one time. Begin with the subpoena request from LSP, Colonel Lamar Davis. Senior Trooper Michael Talley. Captain Brad Cook.
If there are any other witnesses that are in here already, so when we call their name.
Brad Cook. We're asking the witnesses to all, as I call your name, to remain standing. Everyone else could have a seat. Not come up here, just remain standing. Not yet. Sergeant David Floss. Lieutenant Colonel Chavez Cameron. Lieutenant Colonel Kenny Van Buren. Major Jason Turner. Here. Captain Salim El Amin. Captain Triana Larvadane. She here?
She's outside.
Just 1 second. Ms. Kraft.
I don't know. Not shown. but certainly recorded.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. When was the last time you did so?
She's coming in the door almost. We're waiting on a witness.
Oh, I thought you were waiting on me.
No. Captain Larvadane, I'm calling the names of the witnesses and asking them to stand and remain standing until after you've been sworn in and given instructions. Lieutenant Draper Crane. Or Ray, okay, there. Trooper Leander Journey. Trooper Troy Pishon. Is he present? Not in the room? Has he entered the room? Oh, okay. Well, we'll call and then when he comes in, let me know. Jay Oliphant. Kevin Reeves. We have one we're waiting to enter the room. Oh, he just, Trooper Pishon? Okay. So we're asking all of the witnesses whose name I've called to remain standing now, raise your right hand and prepare to be sworn in. Do you swear to testify to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Now, this swearing in, you'll be reminded when you're called to the stand, but it exists throughout the duration of this hearing. We're now going to sequester the witnesses. That means that unless you are at the table with counsel, we're asking you to leave the room until your name has been called to come in and testify. You are instructed not to discuss this matter or the facts of this matter with anyone other than the lawyers in this matter or before the commission. This matter is being live streamed. You're instructed not to look at the live stream of this matter or any or use any means to watch what is happening inside here while you're out there. And that remains in effect until after a decision has been rendered in this matter. Want to leave the room now? And I don't know, do you want them to go all the way to the middle area?
Yeah, because
So there, you know, the area that where there's tables and chairs, that's where we ask that you leave and not stand just outside the door. We have two witnesses
Oh,
that
yeah, hold on.
were not here.
Oh, wait, we had our witnesses too. I think.
I think I thought I called
Mr.
all of yours.
Paxton. He wasn't subpoenaed. No. Mr. Paxton is going to testify on our behalf as well. So I just want to make sure he gets the instruction.
Okay, so Mr. Paxton, would you raise your right arm?
Objection, we had no idea that they were calling this witness. Mr. Paxton was not on the witness list.
The witness list does not require that the names of all the people be here in advance. It's only for witnesses that are going to be subpoenaed. If a witness is in the room, they can be called to testify. Mr. Paxton, raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And did you hear everything I said about the sequestration of the witnesses? That order applies to you as well.
Thank you.
So now we have two witnesses who were issued subpoenas who are not here. Major Jason Turner, and no one has stated why he's not here. We've not received anything at all about his not appearing. Colonel Davis, do you?
He's retired, so obviously we have no more.
What was the date of his retirement?
I think it was April 10th, but I'm getting that for you now. Just to confirm.
who subpoenaed him?
Ms. Kraft?
We did.
Was the subpoena issued to him before his retirement? Do we have?
According to my records, we made the original request for subpoenas for documents and witnesses on March 30th, 2022, April 1st. Mr. Hanneman, on behalf of the commission, issued the subpoenas, including for Major Jason Turner and for, I believe, retired Colonel Reeves.
That was prior to his retirement.
Right. And I believe they were served. In addition to two witnesses that have been subpoenaed not showing up, we requested documents from state police
including emails and text messages. While I get that they might have deleted text messages, I got a response yesterday saying we haven't had time to get the emails together and we don't have or need time to get the text messages.
Okay.
It's a different issue.
Yeah, let's hold that argument.
ma'am.
Because just dealing with the two witnesses that are not here right now. So we have Kevin Reeves and Jason Turner, who are not present. The commission has the authority to hold the record open for their testimony at a later date if the commission so desires. And I believe Ms. Kraft has indicated that she would like a motion to make a motion regarding that as well.
Before we get to that, is
Okay.
it the desire that we hold the hearing open for these witnesses?
It is my desire that they be held in contempt.
Well,
Under
that was-
Rule
that was not the
13.
question.
Understand?
And I need an answer to the question. Do you desire that we hold the meeting open? And then you can make whatever motions you want. I just need an answer to that question.
Well, I subpoenaed their testimony because I want their testimony. But holding the record open, if they're refusing to appear, doesn't help anything.
So is that a yes?
Well, I think it's a roundabout way, yes.
Me too.
However,
So we'll hold the matter open. Now, do you have a motion? you would
I
like to
do.
make?
I want them to be held in contempt under Rule 1317. They were properly served with subpoenas to be here. This commission is empowered to hold those individuals in contempt for not appearing pursuant to a lawful subpoena. We ask that they be found guilty of contempt by the commission in accordance with the rules and whatever punishment that is. Holding the record open is fine and dandy if they're going to show up, but they have expressed contempt for this commission and the lawful authority to issue subpoenas. Why they're not here, I have no idea. There was some sort of letter circulated by Mr. Unglesby on behalf of former Colonel Reeves saying he can't be here, he's not available. That's not enough. If my client doesn't show up, for example, under your rules, then you get to vote against him for not appearing to defend against the actions brought. But I ask that they be held in contempt, and I would move that they be held in contempt of this commission, holding the record open to make them have to come appear, pay attorney's fees, and whatever else the commission decides. Thank you, sir.
Does the commission want to take that motion under advisement at this point?
Yeah, I would entertain a motion, take that
So moved.
motion under advisement.
Second.
Okay. We'll take it under advisement pursuant to the motion if the motion passes. And while the record is being held open, we can also obtain additional information on their non-appearance.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Do we need a motion to hold the matter open, or my statement earlier is sufficient?
Why don't we make a motion?
We have a motion to hold the matter open for the continued testimony of these two witnesses upon their later appearance.
I would so move.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
Holland, Mr. Animashawn, do you want to call your first witness?
I'm sorry, I have,
I'm sorry, you still
that's
had.
okay. I do have some more preliminary matters.
Yes.
As I'm quite confident you would suspect. We requested for subpoena on March 30th, 2022, certain documents from the Louisiana State Police. That subpoena was issued on April 1st. We received a response yesterday from Ms. Holland on April 12th. I would like to offer, file, and introduce into the record a copy of our original request, the subpoenas that were issued April 1, and Ms. Holland's request from yesterday, response yesterday.
No objection.
No objection. I don't know who needs the copy, but I.
Pass it around. Thank you.
Here is the problem. What we requested from state police for the purposes of my client defending himself against a 200-hour suspension were the following specific items which have not been produced. True and correct, complete copies of any and all text messages and or emails between Superintendent Lamar Davis, Lieutenant Colonel Jay Oliphant, Lieutenant Draper Crane, Trooper Leander Journey, Trooper Troy Pichon, Captain Triani Larvadane, Captain Salim El Amin, Major Jason Turner, Lieutenant Colonel Chavez Kamen, Lieutenant Colonel Kenny Van Buren, and or Kevin Reeves regarding in any matter the following terms. I identified terms because the state police operates off of a central server. In order to search terms, if you provide them terms, they can simply search. Here were the terms: Carl Cavalier, Ronald Green, cover up, excessive force, book, secondary employment, business, undercover name, pseudonym, retaliation, assault, and/or battery. The response that I received from state police yesterday was that they don't have time or didn't have time or somehow couldn't get together the responsive documents for our subpoena. And specifically, what was responded to is in response to number 4, please find the enclosed responsive records : this was their response. Overly burdensome, and we could not review all requested documents. Number 5, we requested true and correct complete copies of any and all text messages and or emails between Superintendent Lamar Davis, Lieutenant Colonel Jay Oliphant, Lieutenant Draper Crane, Trooper Leander Journey, Trooper Troy Pichon, Captain Trioni Larvadane, Captain Salim El Amin, Major Jason Turner, Lieutenant Colonel Chavez Cameron, Lieutenant Colonel Kenny Van Buren, and/or Kevin Reeds, and Governor John Bell Edwards. Any or any of his representatives and/or aides regarding in any manner the following terms: Carl Cavalier, Ronald Green, cover-up, excessive force, book, secondary employment, business, undercover name, pseudonym, retaliation, assault, and/or battery. The response from state police was as follows with respect to that subpoena. In response to number 5, please find the enclosed responsive documents : this was their response. Overly burdensome, and we could not review all requested documents. I get it. I'm not an impatient human being, but when I see press reports about the Louisiana State Police somehow wiping out phones, and they don't have emails, and they don't have text messages anymore, and they don't have video and videos being held, I'm going to ask that state police be held in contempt under this commission's rule 13.17 for refusing to comply with a lawful subpoena that was issued for those documents. I specifically limited the terms because it is a very simple matter on their server. Enter the terms, it produces the emails. We also restricted the fields as it related to the individuals who were copied on or authors of those particular emails and/or text messages. Again, I would move that they be held in contempt. My client has a right to defend against a 200-hour suspension, and those rights are being denied. Thank you.
There was no motion to quash the subpoena request filed.
Is there a response?
Yes, we did receive Ms. Kraft's subpoena, and we did attempt to gather the information. The email search was sent to our IT personnel. A search was done on those terms. I contacted Mr. Conrad and told him that it was overly broad. We did not have the time to review the search to see if the terms that they were asking for yielded what Ms. Kraft may have been looking for. As far as the text messages are concerned, our IT personnel had no way of either gathering that information. And I made that known to Ms. Kraft. We have no way of gathering it. They would probably have to do a search warrant to each of the carrier in order to get that information, because we do not have the capability of doing it. And furthermore, I do not see where those search terms are necessarily.
Can I stop you just quickly? Do you agree that those communications were had, not necessarily in the response that you just read to us, but the communications relative that we had with your office?
Nope. I asked Mr. Conrad if he had a discussion with Ms. Holland regarding the production or late production of the records. He indicated no. In fact, the only discussion he indicated he had with Ms. Holland was about trying to settle this case. The discussion I had with Ms. Holland was approximately 10 minutes ago. Before we got up in the argument, she said, well, we just couldn't find them. It was a lot. That is not a motion to quash. It's not a timely objection to the subpoena. Those are the discussions.
I have an email. I would have to tell him, Mr. Conrad, that I was trying to gather everything. I gave him a date and a time, and then I contacted him to let him know that it was overly broad. We couldn't get it. And he said, give me what you have. And that's when my office went to his office with what we had. That's what happened. We gave them what we had,
What did you
which
have?
was a lot. Yesterday afternoon, we brought them everything that, that we had, which was a lot.
Did any of it respond to? those
Yes,
specific
we-
items?
Yes, we provided them with number one, which was everything in Car Cavaliers IA.
No, my question was, did anything that you produced, did you produce any emails or any?
Oh, no, I did not produce any emails and I did not produce any text messages. And the reason I don't have any text messages, the search has been done, but we did not have time to go through it.
You didn't have time to figure out whether one or two or three or whatever number that should have been produced?
Yeah.
It was a lot. And the search was done and it was a lot. We did not have time to go through the emails. The text messages, we do not have, we were not even able to do a search on the text messages.
You'd like a continuance of this matter?
I'd like the documents
I understand you want the documents.
and
I
I'd like
can't
them held
produce-
in contempt.
Do you want a continuance? We have your motion. I'm asking you whether you also want us to consider a continuance.
I think what I would prefer is holding the record open and if we need to bring those back and bring the witnesses back, fine. But from our perspective, this was not a complicated request. And frankly, I'm a little shocked after the stuff at the legislature about wiping out phones, that they wouldn't have taken the time to try to get something to us in terms of emails. I don't want to continue this. My client is out 200 hours. Behind this, there's a termination because he spoke out. I can't, in good conscience, with a man with 4 kids, say, let's continue it until they decide they want to do their job. But I will suggest that holding the record open, and if I got to call these witnesses back up here and we got to deal with some evidence, I mean, that's how we're going to have to do it. But I don't think because they're state police, they get a pass on not complying with a lawful order.
No one takes a position that anybody gets a pass with complying with the law.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Certainly alleging misconduct on the part of the state police. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I would make a motion that we move into executive session to discuss the allegations of misconduct. This did not come up until now, so obviously we didn't have notice of it, so it's not on the agenda. I make that motion. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second. Please take a roll call vote.
Brian Crawford.
Yes.
Leonard Knapp,
Yes.
Robert Meir,
Yes.
Harold Perry,
Yeah.
Jared Ricky,
Yes.
and Euless Simeon.
Yes. So we're gonna go into executive session. We ask that everyone proceed to the atrium area. Take all recording devices.
Something's following the train.
Ready?
The next week.
She's trying to fool you, you know.
Hey,
Yes.
Go ahead and entertain a motion to come back into public session.
So move.
Moved and seconded. Take a roll call vote, please.
Brian Crawford,
Yes.
Leonard Knapp,
Yes.
The next week.
Robert Meir,
Yes.
Tara Puri, Jared Ricky,
Yes.
Eunice Simeon.
Yes.
So we've met with counsel for both sides and, sorry, Ms. Holland.
Yes, I just spoke with the colonel and he has graduation the week of May 12th, and then he has to fly out. And we're asking if it's a possibility that the commission, he will be back and available the 18th, the 19th, or the 20th, if we could do a special hearing date, because the colonel would not be available. It's just a 1 week delay. Is that
I'll be out
possible?
of state in Washington DC.
So the May the 12th hearing date that is already on the books for the Paxton appeal, you're gonna not be here for that?
I will not. That date has already been reserved and I'm scheduled to fly out. I have a trooper that was killed in the line of duty, and that trooper's and his family and entire, all of the agencies that have police officers that were killed are going to be in DC.
All we had scheduled, that we discussed scheduling for May the 12th was a contempt hearing, and you feel that your presence is necessary for the contempt hearing?
I think so.
Well, May the 12th, I will not be able to make it. So I can either designate someone for that hearing, or I can move it back to another date.
Relative to the contempt hearing, it's merely on the issues of compliance with subpoena.
Okay.
Do you anticipate that you would have provided any testimony in regards to that?
I don't think I
Okay, so then we would ask you to designate someone.
So in discussing with the parties, we have agreed that at the next hearing date, May 12th, the parties will argue the contempt motions that were made by Mr. Cavalier's counsel regarding the two witnesses that did not appear and the documents that were subpoenaed that were not produced. So the argument on the contempt hearings will be May the 12th. We've set a deadline to file any pleadings, for the parties to file any pleadings related to that those matters of April the 28th. And then any response to those pleadings, the deadline to file any response would be May the 5th. So parties also discussed the options of proceeding today without the documents, or having another hearing date after the documents, after council has had an opportunity to receive the documents. And we've agreed that there would be a continuance of today's hearing, and the parties will right now, while we have commissioners here, try to select a date that we can set this hearing that won't necessarily be a regularly scheduled meeting date of the commission, because we know how difficult that will be to try to fit into the calendar that's already pretty full. So with that said, beginning in the month of July, are there dates that, I guess the real question is, what are the dates that you're available? And then we can try to select from there. And that would be for the commissioners as well.
But before we get there, I guess
Mhm.
formally, based on the agreement of the parties, I'll continue the current hearing.
Right. So the hearing for today is continued, and we will reset it for a new date and some date in July if we can pick one. What do you
I
have?
would make a motion to do so.
I can continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not letting me log in. It's
Okay,
being
so
crazy.
if all the relevant parties hang around, we just have a couple of other matters on the agenda to finish the meeting.
can
and
pick
then
the
we'll-
date
We'll
after.
pick a date after we finish these few items on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the director's report.
Everything?
We don't need to have a motion for.
No, the rules say that.
You can do that.
The rules
Yeah.
say the chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a few items on my director's report. The first, as always, is the commission expenditures, which have been provided for your review. Tab 7. At the request of Vice Chairman Crawford, I've included some percentages expended and percentages remaining for those for the expenditure columns. No questions regarding the expenditures. I will follow up that we are going to be holding a special election to fill the unexpired term of the elected member of the commission in accordance with revised statute 42-1409C. We are working through the logistical budgetary components and as well as the elections calendar with the Secretary of State's Elections Division before we actually issue that call of election. We anticipate being able to issue the call within the next few weeks and are working to have that vacancy filled as soon as possible. In addition to the special election, we'll be holding our promotional exam in May. The deadline for the May 2022 promotional exam is approaching, and applications for the promotional exam must be received in our office by April 25th. Regarding the fiscal year 22-23 budget, House Appropriations and Senate Finance reviewed our budget for fiscal year 22-23, and we will work with our members of those committees to answer any additional questions they may have about our agency's budget and hopefully realize the funds that we're seeking for that deputy director position. Other item is annual disclosures. The annual financial disclosure forms are due to the Board of Ethics by May 15th. And I will be able to remind you again at our May meeting, which will be on May 12th at 9 a.m. That concludes my director's report.
Thank you. Did we receive any requests to address the commission on matters not on the agenda?
We did not.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned. Everybody's got the count. Does everybody have their calendar?